Hi and welcome to Schofield's Flowers, the home of Scof on Scof. I'm Steve Schofield.
I'm Chris Fraterrigo. People call me Fratty.
Yeah, I'm Tommy Harkey.
No, Tommy, no, you're a PA. Get back. Get back.
Our PA always trying to steal the show. And during our shows, we're going to be talking about true crime
Lifestyle.
and sports.
More likely some hockey, though.
Always hockey. So enjoy the show.
And away we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to Schofield's Flowers podcast, home of Scof on Scof. All right. So, Fratty, whiskey.
Love it.
I know you do.
What more needs to be said?
I know. The last two episodes, we had a couple little IPAs.
We had IPA and a stout,
Right.
Which I know you're a fan of the stout, being the drunken Irish you
Yeah,
are.
yeah, I am. And I just got back from Ireland, so I had a fantastic time. And stouts there were like they came right out of the cow or something.
I wish you would have stayed a little longer, huh?
Yeah, yeah, my beard would have been longer by that time.
What's your whiskey of choice?
Well, I happen to just have a whiskey sitting here that I thought I'd bring it up. I love the Glenlivet 12.
I think your homeland would disown you if you didn't have whiskey on hand.
Yeah, I'm going to give you with the gold rim because I'm going to treat you like gold today, and we're going to taste it and tell me what you like.
All right.
I mean, it's I guess I'm old school, so I like to see what I don't know. Once I get into a certain whiskey, or a scotch or whatever it might be, I seem to always stick with it.
I'm the same way. I recently discovered this one brand though called High West. It's out of Utah.
I've heard of it, and I've actually had some of it.
And I was at a bar in Echo Park area, or Silver Lake. Well, I don't know exactly where it was, but Bigfoot.
Yep.
It's probably the 1933 group. It does all this Prohibition era style bars here in LA. And I asked the bartender, when you're in a place like that, you don't just get a Jack and Coke. I mean, I don't like Jack and Cokes in general because I want to taste my whiskeys. But, I'm looking at the menu. I go, okay, I'm feeling like, I'm a rugged guy. I want a mountain whiskey. And I go, hey, I want to sip on something on the rocks. And he recommended me this one that is called Campfire. And the reason he recommended me is because it actually has a scotch in it.
Oh, wow.
But it's the world's only scotch, rye, and bourbon blend.
Wow, fantastic.
So it has a little bit of those other American characteristics of whiskeys that I typically drink, but it has that scotch in it, so it's smoky and you can sip on it. And since then, I've been a big fan of their products.
Oh, that's fantastic. I started with Dewar's, actually. And I just, it took a bit of while to get away from it. I don't like the smokies. I like, more of a sweeter taste. And to me, that was Dewar's.
Like a vanilla?
Not that sweet. But it was sweet. Sweet enough for me, I guess, since I don't have enough sweetness in me.
Is that the same way you like your women?
Yeah, yes, I like them sweet. Thank you. Sorry, honey. But she is a sweet girl. I've been with her long enough. But let's try this Glenlivet and let's see what your thoughts are. Because have you had this a lot?
I haven't.
Another thing is I'm not into taking a shot or anything.
Right.
This is sipping, right? So we'll sip it for the next 30 minutes. I love that.
That's good.
I love that. It's not too smoky at all.
No.
And it's more sweet.
And
like
is
the
this
Dewar's.
a Scotch or an Irish whiskey?
Yep, Scotch whiskey and single malt, and I love it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Where I also really enjoy, just a nice classic cocktail is sitting, at a casino table in Vegas. And I know we talk about Vegas a lot, obviously, because there's a tie with mobsters and gangsters there.
Yep.
Also because we're hockey guys, and the NHL is going there. And
you stumped me the last week.
And I stumped you last time. So have you done your homework?
Yeah, I have done my homework.
So tell me, Flamingo Hotel, is it still there?
It is, and it's been around for 70 years. And
is that about as long as you've been around?
just a little shy.
Okay.
Right. So a much bigger flamingo than I said that maybe they did back in the day by planting that flamingo that you'd have in your front yard.
Yep.
But I fell in love with just doing some research, right? And you know what? Since the Knights and we talked about hockey, you're going to be there. I just booked this at the Flamingo Hotel.
There we go.
And I can't even wait. Now they just got bought up in 2015 by Harris, which then later became Caesars Entertainment.
Okay.
And they're going to be doing a $90 million revamp on that hotel.
Can they lend me $1 million? They won't even notice.
They won't. Not if you were hanging out with Bugsy Siegel back in the day, they would. But Meyer Lansky probably could have helped you skim a little bit off the top, and they would have never noticed. But
then you gotta pay it back, and I don't want to have a service by your family there.
No, the service would cost you dearly. So I'm excited though about it. Again, here we are talking about going to Vegas, going to a hockey game, and and then there's the food. The food in Vegas lately has just been amazing. I think there's some of the top chefs in the world are there right now, and I just love it. I got to a point where I loved it when I was younger. Then all of a sudden, I'm not a gambler, unfortunately, and I wish I was, but I'd probably.
What would be your game? What do you like?
I like craps.
Okay.
But I'm just not a numbers guy.
Right.
I know how to add up a commission in my head and things like that, but I do love craps and I like roulette. And I'm not
a fun one.
Yeah, I'm not a card guy or whatever. But I mean, I do enjoy, like we talked about the Magic Castle, and I do enjoy, the magic shows, and different shows. So, I mean, there's just so many things now in Vegas to do as a family. Well, not as a family as much as it is for young couples.
Right.
And old couples too.
Yes. Yeah, I like roulette. Last time I was there, I was playing a little bit, walked out, $150 heavier.
Nice.
I'm conservative on
Yep.
I took $100 out and played a little bit and walked away with 150 more.
Wow.
But I'm a Texas Hold'em kind of guy.
Uh-huh.
I like the showmanship, the gamemanship of it, where I can bluff you. I could have absolutely, dog cards, and if I convince you I have something good by the way my actions are, sometimes giving them signals where I'm acting, one way or the other, and reading people, which I think I'm in sales, because you're reading people, you're giving them clues and playing a little bit of a song and dance for them. So you'll find me at those tables there. But there's some shows that are just phenomenal. That I've been wanting to go to. I'm a big music person. Beatles were something I grew up listening to, and they have the Cirque du Soleil Beatles. I think it's called Love. That I've been always wanting to go to. So hopefully we can score a couple tickets and go see that while we're there.
That'd be great. I mean, I recently was in Vegas, and I have to tell you, they happened to be they had the porn awards there.
I'm sure you were there for that.
Yes, and that was a pretty funny get together going to that. And I got invited to a white party, and I have very little white whatsoever. And we went into
except for your skin.
Yeah, except for my skin, that Irish skin.
Pasty.
Yeah, a little pasty, and that was quite the trip. It was held at the Hard Rock. And I had, of course, you're just having a good laugh, right? I mean, we saw every type of character in the place, right? And so we got invited to a white party, and everybody that was in white was a porn star. And it was, I was in black, of course, so,
Good guys wear black. Is that Johnny Cash say?
Exactly. So, but a great time and a lot of laughs, and that's another one of my favorite hotels is the Hard Rock. I like the youth there, and I like the music, and we went out dancing that night, and
that's
just
off
had
the strip, right?
Yeah, it's off the strip. Yep.
Saves you a few bucks, but it's still a great hotel. I remember being there for a roller hockey tournament that we had out in Vegas when I was younger, and kind of same thing you were saying is when I was younger, Vegas always sounded like the oohs and ahs, the lights and this, but there's really not too much you can do as a kid. We went to New York, and played in the arcade and, things like there. But, as I got older, being able to gamble or go to the clubs, which I'm not much of a clubber personally, but, when in Rome. But there's so much other stuff to do. There's the spas, the shows, but you need to really be an adult to enjoy them. So I appreciate you splurging there and getting us the hotel, and obviously I'll repay it with a few pops while we're there.
All right, you promise?
Promise.
Yeah, and I'll try that new whiskey you just mentioned. So
we'll probably bring a few with us.
I would imagine we will. So talking about we seem to always. It's crazy. We go to Vegas, and we talk about Vegas almost on every episode so far. And, hockey comes up again. And what about the Olympics, huh?
Yeah, no, that's crazy. I mean, I'm torn between the two. Obviously the best on best is what the Olympics has been about, and that's the NHL.
Yeah.
But obviously this year the NHLers aren't going to the Olympics.
Yep.
And while the Olympics used to be about the best amateurs, it really changed into being just the best. It didn't matter if you're amateur or professional. And I think the lines of amateur and professional with sponsorships and that's all blurred at this point anyway.
Yeah.
So
I think the owners were hurting too. You're taking away the revenue from the owners and things like that, interrupting in the season. Player gets injured going over to playing the Olympics, and then you've got a problem with a guy that's like making $60-70 million. In an 8-10 year
we talked
contract.
about growing the game. Vegas, is going to grow their sport, the game of hockey in Nevada and that region. Hockey in California has grown, as we talked about before, to where there's, draft picks. Same with Phoenix. Well, what better way to showcase the game of hockey than the Olympics when countries that don't have hockey programs can see it. I mean, I got into hockey from the '88 Olympics when I was 3 years old. They were in Calgary. I had no idea what hockey was. My family didn't follow hockey. No one in my family played hockey, but somehow seeing it on there, I was drawn to it. So we would watch hockey. Then the Mighty Ducks movies came out. And I was drawn to hockey. And then the Ducks got a team, and I go, Dad, I want to play hockey. So I stopped playing baseball to play hockey. And dedicated my life, to some degree, where every day I was out in the blacktop shooting pucks or playing,
or playing roller hockey. Some of the best scorers. Somebody told me, how do you think I should learn how to score? And I said, well, every coach would probably tell you not to play roller hockey, but I would tell you to play roller hockey because you know what? If you do, your hands, because the way you're moving that ball, and some of the best kids that I ever saw scoring, and even skating, like they'd only have. My kids started at 3-4 years old, and there are other kids that I saw that started at 13 and 14 while I was coaching, and they had hands on them, and their skating was so-so, but their hands and their goal scoring was unbelievable. So,
and you can teach skating, you can't teach goal scoring.
No, you can't.
So
I'm excited. No, I'm excited too. I think it's going to give these, college players an opportunity,
which is exciting in its own self. College players. I played college hockey, but there's never that. To get to the NHL is so tough in itself, but then to get to the Olympics, that's the cream of the crop typically. So here's an opportunity for, some guys that are fringe players, maybe some top collegiate players who may not have a career going towards the NHL, but they're still some of the best within what they're doing, and they have a chance now to play. Or maybe there's some aging players who are over in Europe playing that will now get to go, and they can represent their country. And in Canada, a lot of people argue that a gold medal is better than the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I mean, when I grew up, I watched them win the 80s, the Miracle on Ice. And actually, I think I mentioned it before, my buddy Dougie Olson was he didn't get the chance to actually play on the 80 team, but he was an alternate. I think he was like number 4 or 5. So if somebody got sick, the flu or, whatever. But I mean, he was right down to the wire. Training with Herb Brooks, who I actually had the opportunity to meet while I was at a USHL game years ago. And, when he walked in the room, he was an icon. So what the 80s in hockey and the Olympics and Miracle on Ice did for us is going to give us another shot at it again with these kids being able to play. So I'm excited for it.
No, and I actually got the chance to skate on the 80 Olympic ice in Placid freshman year of college. And I got to admit, I mean, outside of playing in a professional game, that probably was my, biggest memory of where I got to play. I think it's playing professionally. First time I stepped on the ice, being able to play in an NHL ice rink and being on the 80 ice rink.
You feel like you're like in the Olympics when you're there. I know because I've been there. Steph, my son, got the opportunity to play there like in a midget tournament. And we were just... blown away. I am to this day, walking in that ice and seeing, the flags and the trophies and everything in Lake Placid, which is a great little town. I mean, absolutely beautiful. I was just breathtaking, because I'm a history guy, and
Same.
And when it comes to sports, or going to see the Stanley Cup in Toronto, at the Hall of Fame, or going to, like I discussed the other day, in the last episode, going to the museum. The Mob Museum is just wonderful, and I'm looking forward to watching the Olympics with these guys, and whether they win or lose. I mean, whatever happens, it's a showcase for these fantastic individuals that are coming up in the game.
So funny story, Scof, you mentioned the Hall of Fame. So when I was in middle school, I convinced my mom, as they were making a trip to Pittsburgh to see some of her family members, to take me along with her.
Wow.
And so once I was already on the flight going to it, I said, not being, too old, and not knowing geography or distance very well.
Yep.
I go, Mom, we're not too far from the Hockey Hall of Fame. We're so close. We're on the East Coast. We could easily go to Toronto and see it. And being persuasive enough, I guess maybe that's one sign why I'm in sales, convinced her to make the drive from Pittsburgh to Toronto so I could go to the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
And 2 days later of all-day driving, we make it to Toronto, and it turns out it's Canada Day. So the place is just packed in Toronto. It's hard getting anywhere around. But they're Canadians. It's Toronto. Right. Everyone's so nice, so friendly. So they help us. We get to Toronto, and I get to go. So that was the first time I got to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame, was when I was, in my middle school years, convincing my mom on her vacation to see family members to drive 2 days, one in one direction and 2 days back to take me to the Hall of Fame. But, I definitely appreciate it, and I had a great time. I've since been 3 or 4 more times. And I actually got to go to the mini museum when the All-Star game was here in LA last season.
I was just going to mention that. What a fantastic, seeing the I like the way they actually had it. It was they had that trophy up in its own area for, you had to stand in line quite a long time, but, you're going there to take your picture with the Stanley Cup. But then around that whole area, seeing the Conn Smythe and all the different trophies that players get for, winning the Norris Trophy, the Conn Smythe, for all the different accomplishments from top defenseman to top forward to top scorer in the league. It was just fantastic. And I think it was a great education for kids, in the Los Angeles area. And, it was great to see, the LA Kings, although they didn't have the greatest season last year, and I've become a big Kings fan and Kings season ticket holder and everything. It was just great for the state of California and for the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned it, we're kind of history buffs.
Yep.
And, we like to talk history on the show, on the podcast here. We also like to talk a little bit about gangsters, mob, true crime. Yep. What do you got for us today?
Well, for the true crime area, I actually I wanted to flip it over to I just been reading a new book that I am just in love with. It's called No Angels, but it's really about the Hells Angels, and it's about the FBI and the ATF, circling and about a couple agents that are actually become Hells Angels. And it's about what's going on with all the drug running and, the gangland wars between the two, between the Mongos. And, it's an amazing book. I got to tell you, it puts you right into it. As much as I'm a history guy, that is the history. You see the Hells Angels out here in Los Angeles. They got chapters all over. I think they got 36 chapters in the United States, and let alone the chapters that they have in Germany and everything else. So, although I've actually, because I do ride motorcycles, I've been on a Hells Angel run with them on a Christmas toy run, and.
Interesting.
Interesting. So you're required to show up with a toy. And the location that you're given to show up to is a strip bar. And so you walk into the strip bar in a smaller, cheesy strip bar in someplace just in the valley in southern, in the San Fernando Valley. So I'm with a bunch of my buddies, and I'm like, yeah, that'll be cool, man. Let's go do it. So I go in there, I show up, And I'm with my buddy, and he definitely looks like he's into Hell's Angels. And, and I had just gotten my big Harley, and I was just getting used to it and everything. So, I was all excited, right? So I get in there. The oldest guy there, his name is Tiny, or, something like that. And he's, got the cane, and he's got a white beard down to his chest. And my buddy says, it's 20. I go, how much is it? He goes, it's $20, and he's going to give you an envelope. And in that envelope, they're going to give you is, it's a 5-card, stud, and you're going to, put a clip into it, or and like cut through it, and then at the end of it, when you go to the Hell's Angels clubhouse, they're going to then open up the envelopes, and when they do, they're going to bring out the winner, and the winner would get a new motorcycle by Harley Davidson.
A little blood money on that motorcycle, you think?
I would think so, because wait till I tell you about that. So I wind up getting my envelope from Tiny. I give him my $20, and I go over to my buddy John, and he goes, "So what'd you get?" And I go, "Oh, I don't know." And he goes, "Well, check." And I open up the envelope, and it says, "Do not open." I mean, in huge red letters, right, that they had written on it. And I go, "You fucker, you fucking knew I was going to open it, right? Because I'm so excited, right?" So now I got to go back to talk to Tiny and say, "Tiny, I screwed up and I opened up my letter, my envelope here." And he looks at, so I do that. And I walk over, and John's just cracking up. I walk over and I go, "Tell Tiny I screwed up." And he goes, "What the hell did you do that for? Can it be big enough?" And I'm like, "Tiny, I was, I was a dreamer in school, and, therefore I'm still dreaming of winning that money and that motorcycle that you're putting out. So I was just anxious to open up that envelope." And he gave me the next envelope, and he says, "Don't you dare open that thing again, or it'll cost you $50. So we wind up, going to all the different strip joints, and then we wind up going to the Hells Angels, house, the Hell House, right? And I walk in, you pull up, you got to go down this long driveway, and they got the Angel of Death carved in wood, and in the back it says Hell's Angels San Fernando, and I'm just like, oh my God, what the hell, this is crazy. We pull in, you got to turn in your envelope. Of course, there's Tiny looking at me like, "Did you open up that envelope? I'll kill you." Yeah, I go, "No." So now I go into the House of Hell, right? And I go in there, and there's the Wall of Fame. They called it the not the Hell of Fame, but the Wall of Hell. The Wall of Hell. And there's pictures all over the thing, and they're guys that are actually in the joint, right? Doing time, or guys that have been killed.
Because they're 1%ers, right?
They're 1%ers, that's correct. So I take out my iPhone, and I start to take a picture.
Oh, geez, I know where this is going.
Who do you think was standing behind me?
Tiny.
Exactly. He's like, "What the hell are you doing? Give me your phone." He grabs my phone, and he deletes everything, and I'm leaving the place eventually after a couple beers. And let me tell you, you didn't want to go in the backyard. They had 3 Dobermans. They had pit bulls running around. You're like, "I think I'll take a break." And, I think it's time to go, John. So we leave. And before I left, Tiny says, "Hey, get over here, kid." And I went over there, and he goes, "Give me a hug. I love you already. Give me a noogie." And I was out the door.
That's awesome. Now, I know you're part of a motorcycle club, but it's different, right?
Yeah. I'm involved with 2 clubs.
Okay.
And you have to have a British bike. Or at least you're supposed to. So I'm in a group called the 59 Club.
Right.
And they were formed out of London, and actually a priest that wanted to get, because back then it was greasers. All the kids were greasers, and then they were considered rockers, and then you had the mods. Right, and they would ride their Vespas, and the girls would all be dressed up, and the guys would all be dressed up in their little bow ties. So the 59 Club is fantastic. I ride with them all the time, and then I have a Triumph, and pretty much everybody in that group. We got a couple guys that have Hondas and things like that.
Yeah, and it's 59 Club because it was started in 1959.
Yeah.
Doesn't take a genius to figure that out.
No, and it's got over 40,000 members.
Worldwide?
Worldwide.
Wow.
Yeah. So, if I want to go to London, or I want to go to Scotland, or I want to go anywhere in the United States, or overseas, wherever, there's going to be a member there, and I can go onto our worldwide blog and just say, "Hey, guys, I'm going to be in town, And, I love to, and right away somebody will say, what do you need, bro? I got a motorcycle. Yeah. What do you need? I got the helmet, what size, your shoe you wear, whatever you need. They'll give you the clothes off their back. So, and then I also belong to the Brit Iron Rebels. And they have about, I think I'm number 410 on the membership. And they probably got about 500
Couldn't
members.
wait 10 more?
Yeah, exactly. So, the Brit Iron Rebels, they're great. That's the first group I joined. And again, they're pretty much all, Nortons and, Triumphs and different, British bikes. So great guys. When I met them over at the Hanson Dam for the Norton get together. And, how do you tell a Norton between, a Triumph and a Honda or any other bike? You just look below and you look for the oil flowing, So, I mean, they're great looking bikes, but they definitely have some oil spills on them. So, I went over there and I got to see, all these different people, and they had all these different, like designated camp areas where people are just hanging out with their groups and everything. 59 Club, and and I didn't know too many from there, but I walked over and I knew one guy over in the Brit Iron Rebels, and I was like, dude, I love what's going on here. They were all dressed like greasers. They were all dressed. Oh, it was great.
You would love it.
Oh, I was in love, studded jackets, and, they had the skinny jeans tucked into boots with the white socks, looked like motorcycle cops, and I was like, I don't know who you guys are, but I want to ride with you and I want to become a member. So you got to do a year, if not, like the Hell's Angels.
Time?
Now, with the Hells Angels, it would probably be a year of time. But with the Brit Iron Rebels and with the 59 Club, it would be more like, like you just got to be able to ride. And they want you to be around. You're going to be with us, you got to ride, period.
No, that's awesome. And I know, you talk about the Angels Club and all that they do. A different kind of club that I'm a big fan of are comedy clubs. I love seeing live comedy. Being here in LA, there's 3 or 4, and on any given night, on a Tuesday night, the top performers in the country could be all doing 15, 20 minutes there just working on new material. So we're in a kind of a mecca of it. But recently I actually went down to Brea Improv.
Oh, wow.
I saw Bert Kreischer. He has a podcast himself called The Bertcast that I'm a big fan of and listen. But the funny thing is every time he gets on stage, he takes his shirt off. And so we're sitting there, and we're the early show, mind you. So it's only like 7:30. And as soon as he takes his shirt off, about 3 guys in the crowd also take their shirt off. And one of them's right in front of us.
That's funny.
Yeah, so...
and the girls are whistling.
Yeah, and everyone's cheering. They're going crazy. His nickname is The Machine. He has a whole story. I'm not going to say it, obviously, because it's his bit, but you can find it on YouTube. And so, he takes his shirt off, and he kind of looks around at these guys taking their shirt off, and he just goes, well, I'll allow it. So the whole night, there's 3 guys, with their shirt off, and, it's just a great time. I mean, live comedy, there's something to be said about being able to command a room and tell jokes and make people laugh. I know your father once told you, that's one of the top, 3 things to learn in life, is to be able to, say some comedy.
Yeah, and I don't know if you really know it, but I was a policeman and things like that back in the day. But I also, that's how I got my start in the advertising world, by taking improv lessons.
Wow.
I started back in what was it, the late '80s, and I was actually as a cop, I signed up for the. When you were in the boardroom or when you were in the squad room, there'd always be before we even had computers, you'd walk up and they'd have all these different guys who were wanted, and you'd look at the burglars and all these different things on these 3 big rinks. And there was a thing that said, looking for officers to do a police industrial film for bank robberies. And then it was basically teaching bank employees what to do. So I was like, oh my God, I can do this. So I signed up. About a couple weeks later, my captain calls me and he goes, Scof, get in here. I go, what up, Cap? He goes, dude, you're the only one that signed up for this damn thing. He said, you're in charge. Make sure it looks good. I'm like, and otherwise you're going to get your shit kicked out of you if you don't. So I'm like, all right, well, no problem. So I wound up hiring a couple. I told him, look, if I'm going to do this, I got to have a couple other officers work with me. I'm going to need some days off because, I got to coax them to work with me. He goes, days off? You haven't even started the fucking thing. You need some days off already? Just get the thing done and let me know what you need. So I get out there and I started it. And I wound up, we did this industrial film. And to this day, I wish I could have got a hold of it. But after after I got done, I just fell in love with the acting portion of it. And I called my sister, and she was dating a guy that was one of best friends with the stage manager from Second City in Chicago. And I called her up and I said, hey, Sandy, I just did this great piece, and I don't know, I got this actor bug. And she says, duh, I've been telling you you're funny and you should be doing this stuff. And I'm like, all right. She said, why don't you come on down to Second City? We went down to Second City. Watched, this after Belushi and Aykroyd and all them left, but they come in and do some guest appearances. But Del Close just came back from Saturday Night Live. So Del Close is one of the top comedy directors or improv directors in the world. He was at Second City for 7 years. Then he went to Saturday Night Live with Belushi and Aykroyd and all them, Chevy Chase, and then he came back. And when he came back, we had the opportunity to take a lesson or two, and then he left and he went to Improv Olympics, which is right over here on Hollywood Boulevard. And I decided to go over there, and I had like the greatest time. And I actually tell any kid that's like going to school and wants to learn to be a great salesman or presenter, you need to take improv classes, because it'll really help you stand up to the crowd.
No, absolutely. I took drama 2 years in high school.
Right.
And I think it's the exact same. I mean, it's not just about being up front. You get to learn makeup and special effects and all that, but a big part of it is learning lines and
it's games.
Performing.
What it is, it's games. The first time I
Exactly.
ever went to my first class, it was crazy because I sat there with, we had a row of us, and a guy put a pillow out on a chair, on a stool. And he said, and then he walked by and he grabbed it and he hit somebody. He said, you're it. And he put it back down. You got to get me before I put the pillow back down. And I actually brought my ex-partner to this thing. And my partner thought I was on, like, are you on drugs? Or what are you doing? You just left the police department, because that was his life, to go to this class that's going to teach you how to fucking play tag? And I said, dude, it's games. You want to learn how to, interact with people, as we're doing today, which
Right.
is, which helped me dramatically. And when I get in a room and I'm doing a sales pitch, for a brand or anything I'm working on and advertising, that's, it's been crucial for my career.
No, and I think, now you're a madman.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've talked about, your family's history with crime. You were a cop, but I had no idea that's how you got into there. So, and I know there's plenty more fun stories behind that you've told me that we can definitely share on this podcast. But, something I've been staring at here for quite a while is that shirt.
Oh.
I love that shirt.
Yeah.
Where did you get that?
So every year I go into, I got this at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and there's a designer there that comes in from Alabama, and he does a pop-up. And what he's really known for is finding like old gasoline, gas station shirts like this, or T-shirts or jackets, Western wear or whatever, and he adds all the embroidery onto it. And it's like I saw this and I fell in love with it. But I also, and I'll have to wear it on one of our next shows, I put on this jacket that he had, and it was just incredible, dude. I tell you, it had 2 horseshoes on it. It was like a Western jacket, 2 horseshoes, and then it had flowers and everything around it, and then it said, shit, damn, fuck, hell. Underneath it. And I put it on. My partner at the time looked at me, Jeff Suey, and he goes, dude, you have got to buy that jacket. I don't care what you got to do. And so it was an XL, and it was pretty big on me. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to buy it. A guy brought it to a tailor. He cut it all up and fit me. Now it fits me like a glove. And
That's awesome. Every
every time I wear that jacket, or any of this stuff, but every time I wear that jacket with this hat and a scarf, which I'm pretty known for wearing, I'll have a guy walk up to me and the line there is "Stay weird."
Right.
And in Texas, if you're at South by in Austin, and that's like the highest comp. And when a guy walked up to me, he said, "Stay weird," and I was like, and I said, "What?" And they said, "What did the guy say to you?" He said, "Stay weird" or something like that. And he's like, "Oh Jesus, man, that's the biggest compliment you can get in Texas."
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
something else that others might seem weird, but I think it's pretty exciting is you're going to be making some swag for the Schofield's Flowers brand.
Yep. Coming soon. I've had, I did a test run of some T-shirts, Scof on Scof, which you guys will be all seeing pretty soon. And then I had, I've also, I've been actually, wanted to contribute to a ladies line. and to a woman's line of scarves. So because I wear scarves and I was designing a scarf, and I was talking to my creative director designer, Jay Gedzik out of Vancouver, and I said, Jay, I'd like to go into antique stores and I want to grab the best antique scarves I can for men and women and retag them with the Schofield Flowers logo. I said, can I do that? He goes, absolutely. He says, dude, it's an appreciation to a brand, So I think that, in the next, coming months, within the next month, we're going to have our shopping store up, and you'll be able to go and buy the Scof on Scof t-shirts, Schofield Flower t-shirts, and, I know you're going to be, tell us about the leather goods, because I just learned today that you're like, if we can get a die cut of the logo here?
Yeah, so we can get a little die cut of it. My dad, who does a lot of leather goods. He's a hunter, kind of a jack of all trades and some. So I learned from him, but, watched him make quivers for archery, and he made me a leather vest with interior that has like this cowboy motive in it and everything. I love it. So then from there, there's things that I want that I see online. I'm like, why am I going to pay $40 for this leather good when I can buy a whole sheet of leather for the same cost and make it myself? So started making wallets and key fobs and, different little trinkets for leather goods. And when I saw your logo, the Scof on Scof, I looked at it and it goes, if we can shrink this down, get a die cast of it, we could make some really cool leather goods that, I think, people who dress us like us and our friends and people that are into the things we're into, might really appreciate. So we're going to start making a few test runs once we get that die made. And, obviously that'll be up on the Schofield's Flowers website for purchase.
Oh, I can't even wait to see it. When I was with my buddy a couple weeks ago, Jeffrey Plansker, he was showing me the wallets that he was having sent in from London, and I mean, they were like the longer wallets, like I happen to see yours on the desk here.
Yep.
And I was just like, so when I was having drinks with him, I was like, pulled out my, my wallet, my guest wallet.
Your little bifold?
Yeah, my little bifold, and I'm like, and then he pulled out his wallet, which is like, just beautiful, and I'm like, does it bother you, with going in your pocket? He goes, no, because the true leather is going to mold around you, and it's going to be fantastic. So,
and everything I'm going to make is going to be natural leather, not going to be stained or dyed anything.
Oh,
so
as
great. It wears, it's going to take on a natural patina. It'll kind of age with you like a fine whiskey.
Well, thank you. So yeah, I guess, in conclusion here, we'd like to tell all our, fans, viewers, and everything to pay attention to our, our Instagram, our YouTube channel, our Facebook channel.
Yeah, and thank you guys for joining in again for another week of the podcast. Be sure to subscribe to YouTube and to iTunes. Follow us on Instagram at Schofield's Flowers. And be sure to comment on your favorite part about this week's episode, and we'll give away one of our Scof on Scof t-shirts again, like we have in the past 2 episodes.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank Caravan Outpost once again for being our sponsor, and we'll be also giving away a one-night free stay at Caravan Outpost in Ojai, and I can't tell you how beautiful it'll be there in the fall. I can't even, I might have to join you, depending if you're the right person.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you guys again next week.
Yep.
Tune in.
All right, thank you.